Caleb Ezewuzie.
Dude,
I can't say your name any other way. I'm just stuck with it, man.
Dude, you're one of the few people that actually can.
No way.
Yeah.
Everybody pronounces it wrong, or?
Yeah, I forget that my name is that hard, and people are just like, dude, how do you pronounce your name? And I'm like,
When you look at it, it's hard.
Wait, so
Yeah.
how do you say it?
Ezewuzie.
Ezewuzie?
It's pronounced the way it's spelled.
Yeah.
And people are just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. It makes sense when you look at it. It's very
Yeah.
fun to say. It's addictive actually.
Yeah. I think in high school people called me, because there was 2 Calebs in our
Yeah.
class, they called me Fuzzy.
Fuzzy.
Yeah. So that's like Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair.
That's awesome.
Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't really
Very fuzzy, was he?
Wuzzy. Yeah.
No, sir.
Yeah.
No, sir.
Shout out to my high school friends.
Shout
They're
out, shout
great.
out. Yeah, guys. All right. So Caleb, great friend of mine. We go way back. Summer 17. We were just
Great
talking
summer.
about that.
Great summer.
One of the
dude.
best years ever. I
Yeah.
always relate my time working where I used to work, like we were talking about,
Yeah.
to like my college years. Because I went to college, but not for that long, and I certainly didn't have your stereotypical college experience
Yeah.
per se. But there it was cool because you had the whole younger crowd. Everybody who worked there was like around our age. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
So you had that environment where people were still learning, and there was a lot of after class or after work socializing.
Yeah.
So between
Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I don't even know how long we held on a tradition. Rip Casa de Nana
Oh,
there
great.
in Springfield.
Great tacos.
And then we switched it up to On the Border for a while there in West
Yeah.
Springfield, and that was fine too. I mean, it was always cool to just get together with everybody.
Yeah.
But how times have changed, everybody's kind of gone off on their own paths. I never see
Yeah.
anybody. Like, I barely ever see Dan or Sean.
Yeah.
And like, we were all involved with their weddings and everything. And
Yeah.
obviously Dan,
Yeah.
and now Sean's wedding coming up. So it's just, it's cool to touch base with everybody
I
because
know,
we always
dude.
used to have a good time.
That's like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And time goes by fast.
Time goes by. So what have you been up to these days? We were just talking
Yeah.
about kind of your involvement with youth ministry and
Yep.
stuff like that. and
Yeah. So
How's that been going with everything?
It's been going great, man. It's so I think right after even that year, I got involved with youth ministry. So I'm actually a pastor's kid. So I grew
No
up in
way.
Yeah, I grew up
Fun
in the
fact.
church. Yeah. in like in Boston, in the Boston area. So like church has always been a part of my life and such. And then kind of coming out here, finding a home church, and then getting involved in youth ministry has kind of just been my passion apart from
Yeah.
my day job. So I work, at MassMutual, do
Mhm.
IT, and then when I'm not doing that or like playing sports or anything,
Yeah.
I'm involved in just like youth ministry and teenagers. They're great.
Yeah,
it's
dude, I
fun.
could imagine. And you know what's a really huge takeaway from that too is typically when your parents are into something,
Yeah,
you are not.
yeah,
So that's kind of cool how you
I
ended
know.
up doing what
I
your
know.
dad. You said your
It's-
dad, right?
yeah, yeah,
And you kept the flame going.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah. Definitely an anomaly.
Yeah.
not a lot of PKs. I think they call them.
Yeah.
Kind of go into the ministry, or
Mhm.
they tend to kind of do their own thing. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like who I am and who like a passion of mine.
That's awesome, though.
yeah.
Does it? What kind of places has it taken you? Because I was thinking
Yeah.
prior to this, like not just prior to this, but in general, for the longest time, how fun it would be to go out with other organizations and
Yeah.
travel and help out other communities or get
Yeah.
other communities involved with certain things, even if it's foreign communities,
Absolutely.
and foreign countries and stuff like that. Because I know that takes place quite a bit with like AmeriCorps and Peace Corps and stuff
Yep.
like that, right? Is that similar? Maybe more
Less formal, I'd
less
say.
formal,
Yeah.
more utility based, less like so with ministries you're
Yeah.
probably teaching a little bit more of the religious side of things,
Yep,
correct?
Yep.
And getting kids sort of involved in the communal
Yeah. So-
aspect of it.
So it's more like community based. So it's like kids all around, like say Western Mass or so. We have kids because our church is actually in.
Check out his Instagram, by the
Yeah,
way, because
yeah.
that's where I'm kind of looking at this, because I'm like, what is
Yeah.
he? I never even
Yeah.
knew that until I saw way back when you'd post pictures and you're like, with all these kids, I'm like, what are you, like a coach? Like,
Yeah,
and it's all these
yeah.
different
These are
groups of
my-
all kinds of different people.
I don't post much on Instagram, but I do. I love my students. I call them my kids, but
Yeah.
they're students.
Yeah.
They're teenagers. Love them. They're great. So yeah, our church is called New Day Church. It's in Enfield, Connecticut. We used to be in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
No way.
That's where I found them. I love basketball, so I was like, one Sunday I was like, let me go to the Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
check it out. found the church. I was like, cool. Kind of got involved. One thing led to another. Found myself as a youth leader. And it's been great. And then we ended up getting our own building in Enfield, Connecticut. So it's just right, probably a couple minutes right off the border of Massachusetts. And so we get kids from, northern Connecticut, kids from like Springfield, Agawam, South Hadley, all over the place coming. And it's been great, dude. It's just, I'm originally from Boston, so just coming out here and.
So it's a pretty local thing, right?
Yeah,
you don't typically trip. You don't travel too much.
No, not too much.
Okay.
We go to camps and everything, and so we've been to. Every year, there's this thing called Youth Con. It's like like a youth convention or so, and it's in Providence, Rhode Island.
Nice.
And we're in a hotel. It's in the convention center, so that's awesome. Kids always look forward to that. And then every year, twice a year, we go on these camps, and it's out in it's called the Hume Camp, Hume.
Yeah.
It's out towards the Berkshires, and summer camp is a week long, winter camp is just a weekend. And so those are awesome experiences. Just kind of spending a extended amount of time with the students, getting just raw, vulnerable, and just talking about some stuff that they may not talk about with their parents. And I think it's healthy for them just to kind of get away.
It is huge to have somebody else you can talk to about certain things, because inevitably what ends up happening is that your parents might be the last person you kind of want to talk to about certain things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how I was in a sense. Maybe there's a certain age, I'll say, that I kind of veered away from if I'm relating. I would rather talk to somebody else about it than my own parents. I don't know why, but I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who share that similarity.
Yeah.
Do you often like think about expanding, or not think about expanding, but is there opportunities there with that type of function to go to other countries or?
Yeah, we normally call them missions trips.
Yeah, like missions.
I love them. So when I was a teenager, I was involved in my youth group, and we did missions trip. We went actually within the States. We went to Daytona Beach, and we went to San Diego.
Whoa!
And when you hear that, you're just like, those sound like vacation spots.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, there are some unfortunate poor communities.
Oh yeah,
there.
yeah.
So we went and kind of helped them out. I also went to a missions trip in Guatemala. And recently,
what was Guatemala like?
Dude, it was awesome, man. I loved Guatemala.
Where's Guatemala? South America?
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
It's like northern South America.
Okay.
I want to say
Central America.
Sort of
Central America. Okay,
Central
so
America.
it's probably just like okay.
Yeah, and the city we went to is called Antigua, which means ancient, I think, in Spanish.
Yeah.
And so it's like the ancient city. So a lot of the buildings there's no skyscrapers. So they're all like one height, and it's phenomenal. The food was great. People are amazing.
All by the sea, I'm assuming too.
Yeah, not too far from it. And I remember there's this one story where I think they call them the favelas, where it's like hills where communities live on.
Right, it's like shanties type of.
Yeah, we went up there to kind of build like this little kitchenette, and so a bunch of my classmates, we were building it, and then on our way down, there's this like water pipe that kind of goes throughout the whole hill that supplies water to everybody that's living there.
Right, there's just one water source essentially.
Yeah, and on our way down, I step on it.
Oh no!
I step on it, water gushing,
No.
and it shuts off the water supply for an extended period of time.
Oh
And,
my god!
Yeah, and it's so ironic because it's like here we are coming to help them, and we take we build them a little kitchenette, and we take away their water.
Well, you know what? In the same instance, though, it's better that somebody did it and can be accountable for it versus it happening and everybody wondering what the hell happened to the pipe. At least,
absolutely.
There was, because if it broke that easily, it was bound to happen somehow, right?
I was probably
was it just a rusty pipe or something?
No, I was like a good 200 pounds.
Yeah, I was gonna say
full weight. Boom.
I mean, I don't know where you were at back then, but I will say, since I saw you, you look like you lost a lot of weight too, in a good way.
Yeah, trying to stay fit.
Tough these times.
All you want to do is just sit at home and just eat.
And it's encouraged too.
Yeah.
You don't really want anybody going anywhere.
Yeah.
So with the ministry and everything, I mean, what's changed about it? We were touching base slightly on it. How do all the functions operate now?
Yeah. So when COVID hit, and all the restrictions kind of came into effect back in March, we couldn't meet in person. So just like everybody else that kind of meets in person, we went to Zoom. And it was cool for the first couple of months, and then
Yeah.
you hit the summer, and then people are trying to find ways to like stay active, get away. So our attendance kind of took a toll, um, and then it kind of becomes this like thing where it's just like, all right, Wednesdays on Zoom,
Yeah.
and like I was saying earlier, like
It's sort of a chore after a while. It's not an experience in the
yeah, and it's as teenagers, you have to. I think youth ministry is a thing where you have to kind of be involved and engaged with them.
Yeah.
And obviously with the pandemic, that's tough to do, and you can't do that.
Well, that's what Sean was talking about. The biggest challenge was getting his kids engaged.
Yep.
And that's something you really miss out on when you don't have like an environment, and what I mean, they're at home all day, and then so when it's time for Zoom, they're still at home all day, so you don't feel any different, and you're just watching a screen, which is what they were probably doing prior to that anyway. So it's like from one thing on the screen to another thing on the screen.
Excuse me. Yeah, a lot of screen time, because, when they're not in Zoom, they're probably watching a movie and so they're trying to find ways to get out of the house. And summer's about to hit, so it's like the weather's nice.
Yeah.
You want to be out. And so to have youth group online is kind of tough. But we try to make it worth their while, giving them challenges. We have these things like devotionals that we could do on an app, and we can do it together. So we're trying to we tried different things to do to get them engaged. At one point, we wrote to the soldiers' home in Holyoke, just encouraging letters. Because I know they got hit hard with the pandemic. Just so a bunch of the leaders and we asked the students to write encouraging letters, just letting them know that hey, we're praying for you guys.
Yeah.
You're in our thoughts and such. And we actually
you wrote to all of them essentially.
Yeah. So myself, some of the leaders, and a bunch of the students wrote letters. So we gathered all the letters and mailed it to them. That's
a cool activity.
Yeah, and we actually got a letter back from the soldiers' home in Holyoke.
No kidding. Okay.
Basically, just thanking us.
Yeah.
For doing it, and it was really cool to kind of convey that message back to the students and just be like, hey, what you did was recognized. And
that's one thing that I really appreciate, and that you don't get to see as much because everything's just so blown up.
Yeah.
Everybody's so in their own lane that we often will forget what it's like to communicate from a communal standpoint, right?
Yeah.
It's just broken up into so many different things where you might only communicate with the people instead of the people of your community.
Yeah.
You don't even feel like a community. Your neighbor is almost not even your neighbor anymore.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like I'll even be honest, the people upstairs, there used to be neighbors up here. They moved out, and I was thinking I never even really met them, and I lived here for like a year.
Wow.
Like I knew their names, and I'd say hi to them, but like I'd never spend any time with them, or do anything with them. So something like that I think is really cool and a great thing to teach kids, because if there's one thing I feel like I really value about what I learned as a kid growing up was my sense of community, in a sense that it was because I moved around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to experience a lot of different ways that people lived, and a lot of different people as far as friendships and just different social environments. And I feel like kids miss out on that because when you go to school, typically you can just school alone is really great, but if it's all you really have, and then you go home, you go to school, you go home, you're sort of mimicking the same type of life you might live once you go into the working world, which is just work, home. You know what I mean? And that falls short. It doesn't have as much substance.
Yeah, I'd say your upbringing, considering like coming from Portugal.
Yeah.
And the culture there is way different from Western Mass. And then also,
I know family there is like
when
this,
you lived in the commune,
I've heard,
like living in the commune, like dude, that's an experience, right?
Yeah. Oh my God.
I don't know if you've talked about either of those things very much on the podcast.
Yeah, man, that's actually a great point. So when I lived in Missouri as a kid, I grew up in a egalitarian community.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like an eco-communism, they called it. That was the
dude. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
dude,
it was wild.
This
dude, it was wild.
Tell me about you.
No, it's cool. It's a great. Well, it kind of ties in.
It ties in big time.
Okay, cool, dude.
Sure.
That's awesome.
Because there you function. It was a massive. You could almost call it a farm, right? They exported their own peanut butter. So they made their own peanut butter. They had a peanut butter factory and all the works for a factory, and export like $1 million worth of peanut butter a year. You know what I mean? Very popular in that area. And in the time living there, it was great because you grow up on a farm where your job, and this is me as a kid observing how adults function in that community, and it was always something different, and it was always something that was collectively contributive to the community itself.
That's awesome.
So on small scale, you know how they always say communism works on paper, but never in like real life, because as soon as it gets too big, it obviously gets out of hand. But in these small little things, I mean, okay, to put it into perspective, there was only 70 people who lived there.
Wow.
So it was a very small thing, and everybody kind of contributed equally to different things. So one day you could be cooking, or the other day you could be tending to the livestock, or the other day you could be making peanut butter or watching the kids. I mean, there's no end to all the different upkeep and different jobs there were. So you never were tied into one job there. And that was really interesting to see, and the way people, the way society was structured there was very different.
Yeah.
It was fun growing up as a kid because for me it was like canoe trips and hiking. We lived really far out. Like I'm talking like southern Missouri, so it was Ozark County.
Oh, wow.
So you got like county roads out there to the point where, you know, it was like a mile-long dirt road to get into the community. And it was a plot of land that was bought out by people, I don't know, like back in the 50s or something like that. If somebody's listening from the community, you can comment below, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's like 10,000 acres of land that they owned out there, and most of it they didn't even use. And they had all kinds of really cool stuff. So it was a very interesting upbringing. And in Portugal was great because...
How long did you live in Portugal for?
Like 2 years. I went to school there too. I went to 5th grade. Yeah, that was wild going there. Just because you're used to the school system here, where it's like this very convenient, you know, like 8 to 3, whatever it was back in elementary school, because it was only 5th grade for me.
Yeah.
Or 8th, I guess that's middle school, right? So there it was like 8 to 6. You had to take like a public bus to get there. The schools was like caged in, had like really high
long days.
Yeah, but it was like, you know, it was just a typical. I mean, it's tough to dive into the social structures and the economics of it because I wasn't there as an adult to observe that, or I never even worked there and earned money, so I don't even know how any of it really works. But it was really interesting on, you know, being able to live somewhere where they had a lot of family and there was a lot of community sense, because they're still very like agriculturally inclined. Like everybody has farming or gardening on their property or some form of livestock.
Where in Portugal were you?
I lived in Alcobaça, Truquel, so it was like north of Lisbon, next to Nazaré. It's the surfing capital of the world, actually. We were like 25 minutes. My grandparents' house, 25 minutes from the beach. And it's an awesome beach. You came with us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could vouch. It was awesome out there. It's like Northampton on the beach side kind of deal.
So do you speak Portuguese?
Yeah,
fluently?
I was able to end up adopting the language for a moment, too.
Dude, I didn't know
100%. And I've lost it a little bit along the ways, but my grandparents live only here in Palmer, and they don't speak a lick of English.
Yeah.
So I still am able to maintain it thanks to them not knowing any English, because I still talk to them on a weekly, daily basis. I see them kind of often.
Yeah.
But there it was cool. I got to go on, fun fact, when I was in Portugal, I got to go on 2, what are they called? When you walk like really far, it was like a pilgrimage. A pilgrimage. Yep. Yeah. We walked to Lady Fatima's.
Oh yeah.
That's where that is. It's in Portugal from where we lived, and my grandma did it with us. I did it twice with these people, and like.
How long is it?
It took us 3 days walking.
Wow.
Just sleep on the street for like a day or like 1 or 2 nights. You can get there in like 2 days from where we were.
Yeah.
I think it took us. I think it took us a night and 2 days.
So you just spend the whole day walking.
Yeah, like your feet were killing.
I was about to say. Wow.
And as a kid, I was never too inclined on the spiritual aspect of it. I'm like, where do we go? You know, like, you know what I mean? And you get there and you're like, I just want to sleep for 3 days now. And there's like people there like, we're gonna break a record. Like, what are you kidding? Like, they were like people there who were like as old as my grandmother. You know what I mean? And like
just doing it.
They're talking about breaking records.
Wow.
And I was just kind of going along for the ride, and people would give up. People would like, I never realized it, but now thinking about it, like my cousins would walk until they started crying.
Oh my Lord.
And couldn't walk anymore, and they had to call somebody to pick them up.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I can definitely attest to, like, as an adult, like my first time being out of country, being in Portugal with you and meeting your family. just the
weddings, nuts.
the way your family is compared to most American families, like at least your Portuguese side of the family, who lives there, is just so much different.
Yeah.
So much different.
Yeah.
So much more inclined to like be together, I think.
Yep.
And perhaps it is because of the sense of community generated through their faith. Maybe.
Yeah.
Would you think that hasn't
I think it's certainly a part of it. Ever since I've known about it, I feel like it's just a really big European thing because most families stay in the same town. They all live together in the same town. So they go to the same church together. They celebrate all the same functions together, whether it be graduation or communion or something like that. I mean, I think it's all just a collective thing that occurs when you are local. Because here in the U.S., it's very common that you get a job in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or something like that. And then you can move because this country's massive.
Well, so I was listening to another podcast, and there's this guy named John Eldridge who wrote this phenomenal book called Wild at Heart. Check it out, especially for guys. But he's basically saying that, like, I forget, he's quoting somebody else or citing somebody else, but he basically said that, like, the human, like, persona was meant to, like, process and intake information of like 150 people within your community.
Yeah.
And like,
well, it's a tribal thing.
Exactly.
I mean, you're perpetuating a very, we'll say I don't want to say primitive, but more primordial, right?
Yeah.
Could be primitive because we were doing it a long time ago, but it's a very primordial instinct to create a tribe. And that's, I think, something that's lost in the whole aspect of going other places. It can be gained somewhere else. I'm not saying that traveling's bad, but I think that is an effect of the same family sticking together for so long. Because you're right. Like when we're there, everybody's always together. My whole family over there is a community, essentially. And they all still live very close to each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's just one thing that keeps everybody together is that, tribal and they support each other so much. I mean, this is something I've said a million times, but your net worth is your network. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's going to be what facilitates your level of success in a lot of ways is who you have around you and who you can collaborate with and how you can collaborate with them.
And I think you get a sense of like security too.
Yeah.
And I think that
and that gives you more chances to take risks.
I was about to say that because you're just like, it's like, if I fail, I know I got like, my crew or squad behind me, my family.
Exactly.
Well, even if I fail, I can go to them. They'll welcome me. And, I can
that
start
fallback.
Again. Exactly.
Not as much anxiety.
Yeah. And I think it's in a way that's almost tied into just like you said, anxiety, like mental health, because it's like, we're all spread out and it's all, we have a sense of we're on our own. So it's like, I get it. I grew up in Boston. I could get a job in California. I fail. I'm just like, what am I going to do? I'm like,
It definitely makes you think a little bit harder about taking a chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think families are great. And, especially with the youth ministry, I tried to, because we get students from all different backgrounds with families and everything. And one of the things I tried to, and it's not the same, but I tried to like preach or communicate is that you have a family here. You have between the leaders and all the students here, we actually care. We care about you. We care about your well-being. We'll do everything we can to.
And it might be you who shows them that. You know
exactly.
what I mean? That's huge.
Yeah, and then it's like it's we may not be blood, but like, hey,
don't need to be.
Exactly.
Don't even need to be. You know what I mean?
I just care about you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People, I think, often mistake the ability to have empathy or care for somebody or be supportive with the blood relation or family relation. It doesn't have to. Typically, you'll even find, even in people who have healthy relationships with their family, that their friends and colleagues are just as much of a contribution to their life and their outcome than their family itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what's the saying? Friends are the family you chose.
Family that you choose.
Yeah, the family that you choose.
Well, dude, it's actually like in the Bible, it's like a friend sticks closer than a brother.
Yeah.
And like growing up, I read that and I have an older brother and I'm looking at him like,
yeah,
is this true? And it's like, you go through life and you're just like, you kind of see that.
It kind of is. It's not in like an evil or bad way.
No, it's
because
just,
like, of course you don't want to be just like your brother. Your every ounce of your being is inclined to be different than your brother and your mother and your father, because that's what perpetuates more of a successful mentality. Because if you do exactly like we kind of were talking, I know you're sort of doing things similar to your father, but it's probably not exactly the same. You have your own spin on it. It's something you like. Like we know we have friends. His father, Jeremy's father, is a carpenter. He was a carpenter for a long time. And he moved in different directions as time went on. But it's a great place to start if you know it's something you're initially passionate about, because you never know what might go from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
good. Yeah.
And along with all the traveling too, that's huge, man. Meeting new people and going other places. You said you were going somewhere else. I kind of interrupted when you said you went to Guadalupe.
Guatemala. Yeah.
Guadalupe. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Is that the same thing?
I don't think so.
Guadalupe is probably like the Spanish way of saying it, or is that not even a thing? I'm just.
I think that's really, if I had to go out on a limb, I'd say you're making it up. But
I think Guadalupe is a place.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably the Spanish way of saying Guatemala.
I don't think so.
No, probably not.
Guadalupe
island in Mexico.
Dude, here's the thing, though.
There you go.
Here's the thing. Oh, there you go. Because. And the reason I said that initially is because Germany in our language is Germany, but in every other language it's Albania.
Huh.
So.
That is wow, really?
Yeah.
In Portuguese?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Albania?
Yeah, I believe
that's so confusing.
I know. Well, like for instance, we're the only people who call pineapple, or our English language is the only language that calls pineapple an apple, and every other's ananas.
Huh.
Which is different, but let's see.
Fact check.
Yeah, I want to see this now. Germany in
Portuguese.
Portuguese. Oh no. Yeah, Albania. Yeah.
That's good. Wow.
Yeah, and then that's how it is in Spanish.
Never know that.
Oh, well, I don't know. There's weird ways of saying a lot of things. But where else were you saying you were going?
In 2018, actually a bunch of like the young adults within our church, myself included.
Here, turn this just a little bit, like this way. There you go.
We went to Romania.
Up just a little.
Sorry. We went to Romania.
Romania.
For about a couple weeks, I think. Yeah, I think a couple weeks or a week or so. And that was a great experience. Because not only, I think by the time I was probably 24 or so. And so you're more of an adult,
right?
And you get to process things a lot, mature than you were as a teenager. So you just get to see things and meet great people, but also just help out and minister to a lot of those people there and the communities there alongside your friends. And I thought that was pretty life-changing. And so we didn't go with students at the time, but I went with friends, and you're just able to you're with them for extended
Where's
amount of time.
Romania?
It's in Europe.
Yeah, it's got to be in Europe.
Yeah.
Close to Rome, maybe? I'm thinking of the white stone column pillars somewhere where like democracy was invented or something. You know what I mean? That must have been so cool.
West shore of the Black Sea, south of Ukraine.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there you go.
I think it's one of was it from the Soviet Union? I don't know if it was.
Oh, yeah.
Might have been. I don't know.
It's probably, so it's probably like we're near Turkey. Or
probably not too far.
Ottoman Empire or something like that. Something like that.
Yeah.
So where's your next move with this? I mean, so now you guys are all.
Dude, I'd love to go to another. Go on another missions trip, because, I love helping out. I love just kind of being a part of something that's bigger than me. I know I'm very extroverted, so I don't know if you know what the Enneagrams are.
No.
Say it again.
Enneagrams?
No. Never heard of it.
Oh, you should take the test. Yeah. A bunch of my friends take it, and I guess
Okay.
I'm a type 7, and I guess type 7s are the enthusiast. Yeah, that's the word. Enthusiast.
Well, that fits you well, because ever since I've known you, you seem very enthusiastic.
Yeah, I'm very extroverted, and I love to just kind of be. I love to be around people.
Yeah.
I get such a high from it, and I guess with 7s, when they're always looking to do things, and I am too.
I want to take that test. So what is it? A gauge on like your personality, kind of introverted, extroverted?
In a way, yeah. But it's not just introverted, extroverted. There's like
There's
think
levels in between.
There's like 8 or 9 types.
Okay.
And I don't know all of them. I think the 2 is like the helper. The 3 is like the achiever. 4 is something. 5, I don't remember. I know 7 is enthusiast. 8 might be the challenger. And then there's like the 9 is something else. I don't know.
Is there a specific like source to take the test that would be better than other sources? Because I can pull it up and I see.
I have it on my
sources.
phone. I think somebody. Let me.
Yeah, just you can send it. Yeah.
Send it to me. Yeah.
Cause
I'll take that for sure.
Yeah, I want to try it out. Well, Tom Roche had us try the Tom Roche had us try the bias test. Who made?
Did you end up taking that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What did you get?
I was more. I didn't understand how it was. More biased towards they call them European Americans.
Yeah.
Like I guess I was more judgmental towards them.
Oh.
I didn't get it though. Did you ever try that test?
No.
It's essentially hinting at like figuring out if you're
like
racist or not.
Subconscious bias.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Like subconscious bias, but it was really weird because it was like it would make you match faces with words, and so it would be like it was all black and white, so you couldn't really tell what color their faces were anyway. So it'd be like a face would appear, and then you would click whether it was American, or rather not American, European, American, or African American, and then you would associate it with a word.
Implicit association test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh, I've never heard
That's
of
a
that
weird
or
one.
even
Yeah,
tried it.
it's just like what's the college that had it?
It's Harvard.
Harvard.
Yeah, of course. It's
Something. No, like,
I just shot you the text of the link.
Oh, perfect.
I don't have your number, but
that's fine. I'll
send it to you.
yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try this out. So it's called 9 types.
The 9 types, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
I think it shows it on that.
Yeah.
Like the different types, enneagrams.
Yeah, taking tests like that are always so interesting because you're like, oh, am I like that? You know, it's like.
I think this one for me, because I've seen a lot of like personality tests.
Yeah.
This one's pretty accurate for me.
Yeah.
And I'll always use it. Is that me?
Might be.
Yeah.
It was me.
Yeah.
It was Google. Yeah, I'll always use it as an excuse for why I do things.
Yeah.
Like I'm a 7.
Yeah, guys, just chill. Just chill. Come on. You know what that means.
Yeah.
You know what's gonna happen now.
Yeah.
See, that's what I do because I'm blind in my left eye. So whenever I drop a pass or something, I'm just like, oh, dude, I'm just blind in my left eye. I shouldn't throw it to me anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
So he tells the cops when he's driving on the sidewalk, "Hey, come on."
Dude, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, dude.
It's fun.
Here,
That's
I'm
pretty
just setting
cool.
this up. Yeah, I gotta try that out, man. So what do you do now for work, Caleb? I mean, we kind of almost got into it. I mean, I don't know if it's anything. Is it, do you like what you do or?
Yeah, dude. It's so I work at MassMutual, and I'm into computers. IT is what they call it, and kind of mainly within like the cybersecurity.
Oh no
portion.
way!
Yeah,
dude, that's way more. Okay, so I thought that's really cool. What is that like? Because we were having this conversation, I think, with Ian with cybersecurity and 2 guests ago, and and what that entails. I mean, how often do you come up with or encounter conflict with with something on a scale that large as MassMutual?
I'm trying to think. I'm like, shit, am I allowed to say this?
Oh yeah. If you're not allowed to, it's fine.
No. So like, there's like different levels to it, obviously. And it's a lot bigger. I always just say cybersecurity because it's like it encompasses everything.
So much.
But there's just from like network security to like data loss prevention. I know I'm spitting a bunch of things that might sound foreign to you.
Right.
But
I could get like that being. I would assume MassMutual has to, accumulate and maintain vast amount of information on all.
Absolutely,
it's pretty much a database.
Yeah, we're a financial company, so like there's definitely like rules and regulations that we have to adhere to because we have a lot of people's financial data and not just money. So we want to make sure that we don't have any data breaches. So there's a lot that kind of goes into it and such. And so we have what they call a SOC, a Security Operations Center. And it's almost like think 24 or like type or deal with like not to that extent, but like similar in the sense that like it's it's that resourced and it's that active as far as trying to make sure that our network is secure. And really our task is to make sure that the data that we have is secure, and that no data or there's no breaches from outsider threats or like even insiders.
Yeah, MassMutual is legit. So my company that I would work for when I repaired the appliances for the kitchens. So we would service their kitchens, like the big center in Springfield. We would go in there and there's a security gate.
Yep.
You got to check in. You have to have an ID issued specifically by the company.
Yep.
One hell of a building.
Dude,
they escort you to the kitchen.
Yep.
You know, to repair their equipment, and then you got to check out. You know,
if you don't work for them, they're like they're on you.
Their insurance, right?
Yeah.
Financial?
Health. Life insurance.
Life insurance.
I don't know why I could.
That's close too. Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, life insurance.
Dude, that's crazy. So, with that, like, so how do you have time with your hobbies? Like, so is most of your hobbies sort of oriented around the youth ministry, or what other things do you get yourself into?
So it's. And this is why I'm a 7 and I like to do everything.
Yeah, I know. I love to you probably have a lot of outtake on a lot of things.
It's a good thing that, I don't have I don't have a family because I couldn't obviously do everything. But I between like I'll work like 9 to 5, and then like in the evenings I'll do like a bunch of the work for like the ministry and stuff. But at the same time, I love to hang out with my friends, just kind of get together. And we always say this: do life with each other. Because we'll go places. Like I just came back from Montana for a week and back in August, and I traveled with a bunch of folks from young adults folks from my church community.
Yep.
And it's not the first trip we've done. Some of us have gone to Chicago, New York, and like I said, eventually we went to Romania. So we've just kind of done stuff with each other. So I always like to hang out with them and then kind of go places or just hang out, watch football, whatever it may be. And then, play basketball, play sports. One of the things that we did, especially with the young adults community, was like in the summer, go to School Street Park in Agawam, and just play like flag football, soccer.
Oh, bro, I just went and played kickball with my jiu-jitsu team.
Dude, it's
there like a couple months back. So much fun.
It's so much fun.
That park's nice.
In School Street?
Yep.
Yeah, dude, it's big, and it's like you could find like a good like just spot, and so many people can use it.
You know what's a way bigger place than I thought? I went to not too many months ago. What the hell, Forest Park?
Yeah,
freaking enormous.
I know.
There's like deer running around.
Yeah,
Forest Park is nice.
I was like, what the heck? And I saw like there's a zoo in there.
Yeah,
there's a freaking zoo in there. Like I saw a camel running by. I had no idea of any of this. I was not briefed on any of it. I'm just kind of walking through with my friend, and I could not believe it. There was a peacock. There was a dude on a unicycle. It's like
what? Yeah, it's funny because when I first came to like Western Mass, someone had mentioned like, oh, don't go around that area, Forest Park, people like at night or blah blah blah, and I'm just like,
because it's Springfield.
And I was like, all right, stay away from Forest Park. But then I had like an outing with actually two things. I went on a 5K run there, and it was I think earlier this year, and that was actually brutal because it was cold and it was just awful, and there was a bunch of hills, and I was like, never again here. But then during the summer, I'd gone there with some friends and we just hung out, and it was beautiful. I was like, what? This is a beautiful day. I was like,
dude, it's unbelievably, it's unbelievable how much went into making that place.
Really?
I mean, well, like I'm just saying, walking around, it looks like what you would think. Center Park. Central Park in New York would be like. It's really.
Have you been to Central Park?
No.
Central Park is beautiful. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Big.
Yeah, I know. Like it's you wouldn't think it's that big. You see pictures from like a helicopter, and it's like this sliver of trees, and like
that bad boy is
I could imagine.
Yeah.
I could imagine.
Dude, there's all sorts of sweet performers in Central Park too. When you go there, man,
it's like
I remember there was
this
break dance crew, and they had like this 8-year-old dancing with them, and the 8-year-old was doing these sick moves, and I was like, oh my god, there's no way I could do that. They got these people like blowing giant bubbles. And then you get so many different types of people. You got people playing music.
I love
awesome.
that. That's one of my most cherished things about, or one of the things I appreciate most about going to cities or more highly populated areas like Church Street in Burlington, Vermont. If you've ever been,
Yes.
it's like prior to all this, of course, just busking all over the place. And if you don't know what busking is, it's just street performance. It's when somebody's performing on a street, it's called busking. And there is all kinds. It's not just music. There was people like doing balancing chair acts. I remember running into this guy specifically doing this balanced chair act and comedy bit at the same time. And he was like up 7 chairs in the air telling jokes while he's stacking chairs and climbing higher. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
I'm like, scared. I'd be scared. I'd be like, sir, you probably should come down.
It's like an acid trip without the acid. You know what I mean? Like, you're really thrown off. And no matter where you go, there's something going on between if it's just like some garden show or some crystal show or more performers, great restaurants and all that. Similar to Northampton. I mean, there's times you go to Northampton and there's just people everywhere performing. And that's something I really miss. And I'm missing more and more as the days go on, because it's like, one of the greatest things about going out was seeing performances and watching people demonstrate their abilities and skills. And you don't get much of that these days. And I wasn't somebody who avidly went to like concerts or anything like that, but I went on some kind of basis, and now I'm like, man,
you miss it.
You it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, growing up, in the Boston area and kind of always just being in the city, you saw them a lot.
What's Boston like? I mean, I've heard so many good things.
Yeah, it's so different from
city life. I'm sure.
Well, but like even when I grew up, because like now it's a lot of people say Boston right now is like the San Francisco of the East Coast, because it's such a tech hub.
Yeah.
But also, you have like the healthcare and everything, and like there's so many different hospitals and people come. Right. So a lot of young professionals are coming to the Boston area for like their careers, and a lot of the cities that were deemed dangerous are starting to be gentrified, right?
What's that mean?
Like, so they're before all the locals are like going out, and it's starting to get like younger.
Oh,
like,
okay.
so I remember, I went to school in at UMass Boston, and that's Dorchester.
Mm-hmm.
And back, people would say stay away from
Dorchester.
Yeah, stay away from Roxbury and Dorchester. Dorchester.
You limey bastard.
But yeah, I love that.
I would
Dorchester.
Dorchester.
I don't know where that comes from, but I know it. It's just one of those things that, like, you just live in Massachusetts and that's how you say that.
Dorchester.
Like, it's Dorchester.
Goodwill Hunting.
You gotta put
I was about to say Goodwill Hunting.
all the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
Rip Christo. Gosh.
What's that other one with?
Bro.
What was his name?
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams. Wow.
Yeah.
I should just jump off a cliff. I can't remember.
Oh,
I can't believe I forgot
It's
that.
okay.
All right.
Okay, Robin Williams
Thank you.
wouldn't want that.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Matt Damon. Were you thinking of?
No, I was thinking about the other movie where with Leonardo DiCaprio, and they're like, he's a double. And
Catch Me If You Can.
No, what's his name? Ben Affleck is the other.
Oh, good. Oh, no. Oh my gosh, with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson.
Goodfellas.
No, good movie though. I'm forgetting, man.
Isn't that kill? It's gonna kill me if I don't check it now. So, what's the main character? Leo
and Ben Affleck, Jack Nichols, and there's other people in that too. It's a star.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Oh my gosh, and somebody's probably screaming.
The first movie that comes up with Leo and Jack is The Departed, but
that's it.
That's
it. The Departed.
The Departed.
Yeah, The Departed. Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
That's a good movie. Yeah. Boston based. Yeah, but anyways,
down Dorchester.
But yeah, Dorchester. Back then, it's like they considered it like dangerous. Don't go there.
Right.
Type thing.
What's the thing with like cities?
Yeah.
If you have condensed populations of just lower income, you're gonna have all kinds of different types of not depression, desperateness occurring simultaneously.
Yeah.
I've seen, and you see people products of that, and it's like, they're not always good in the head. I could not imagine living an entire lifetime, completely broke and unable to eat.
Yeah.
And even when you go to a place like Northampton, there's still the same people just living out in the street,
Yeah, and it's funny because growing up, seeing homeless people
it's tough.
Yeah, but it was also normal.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, growing, like I said, I grew up in the church, and our church was like on Cambridge Street in Boston, and if you know where that is, it's like not too far from where Mass General is. So it's
Mhm.
like it's walking distance to the Garden, so it's like right there. So I kind of grew up being in the city. So you you come out, there's homeless people. We had a lot of homeless people come into our church,
Yeah.
and like we had evening services, and that's when a lot of like homeless people would come in because we'd serve like coffee and
Mhm.
food for them, and so growing up, it was just like normal. I was like, all
Right
right,
on.
homeless people are a thing,
Yeah.
and you see them everywhere. But yeah, when it like gentrification, it's basically when like the locals that were there tend to kind of move out, and like there's newcomers or younger people, and the property or the price of the property tends to go up. So the
Oh.
people that are living there now are mostly like whether it be college students or young professionals, because it's not too far from the city. It's a
Mhm.
train ride away, so you could live without a car in the city, and with roommates with people that probably either go to school within the city or work in the city, and you're paying, when I was in college, which is like maybe 5 years ago, a senior, like you paid upwards up to 500, 700 just for a room, and it's a 3 bedroom.
Wow.
Now it's
That's not
probably
bad for the city.
it's not
That's amazing.
yeah, now it's
That's less than what it costs to live here.
yeah, but now it's probably like a grand.
Couple thousand, maybe close to
Yeah, just for a room.
yeah.
And so obviously location is everything. And like,
Mhm.
so if you're near a bus stop or if you're near,
Well, imagine if you could bike everywhere. I mean,
exactly.
that's the saying. Like, if you live in New York City, you could be working like, the building over. You could
Yeah.
literally leave your building, walk to work, and be at work in
Be at
2
work.
minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
But-
everything's within a block.
Yeah. And so, yeah, you start to see like even a lot right now, Boston, they're building a whole bunch of residential apartments like Southie, or South Boston, as some might say. Back then, that's where people don't want to go there. I think, what's his name? He starred in Black Mass. The movie was about him. I'm forgetting.
Oh,
people.
Johnny Depp.
No, not
Oh,
him. The actual
Whitey Bulger.
Whitey Bulger.
Yeah.
Ruled Southie back in the day.
Yep.
And not a place to go. Now, dude, if you can't even find an apartment there, and if you do, you're paying so much for it. And it's
Is
like
it just that high end?
high end. It's a hot spot.
Wow.
A lot of young people, like a lot of residential apartments have gone up, and so they're just building stuff, and
Wow.
it's crazy. And like ever since because I moved out here in 2016, and every time I go back, I'm just like, I'm always seeing something new. I'm like, oh, this is nice.
Why do you think that is? How do you think that turnover came about? Were like people then scared to live there, or like was people like impoverished, didn't want to be around because
Well,
the gang was like killing people? How does that? How do you
I don't
think
know.
that perpetuates?
I honestly don't know. But I could say that one thing that I've seen change, and especially being in this field, is technology.
Yeah.
And so a lot of startups have like come up, and so you have a startup, you get a place in Boston, and then you start to boom, right? And then you start to get employees, people can work from home, all this stuff. But like, I think we're living a day and age where you're just like work, work, work. So it's like, similar to New York, you want people to live around the city. So, and especially young people, and again, technology is a thing. So it's like you have the flyest technology
And
as far-
people who are like this with it.
Yeah.
That's another thing, because if you are already integrated into the industrious
Yep.
9 to 5 complex,
Yeah.
you were probably somebody who either just started working with computers or had to transition into working
Yeah.
with computers. But if you're around like our generation or younger,
Yeah.
you've known computers since school.
Absolutely.
Like since like I don't remember ever going to school that didn't have computers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
had computers, and I had computers in elementary school.
Me too. Yeah.
All the way through.
Yeah.
So it's a very easy integration,
Yeah.
probably.
And it's really crazy just to see just to turn over the development. Like I remember, I don't know if you heard of the Big Dig back when like Boston didn't have the underground tunnel. I don't know if you ever gone on the
Yeah,
underground tunnel.
to get to Logan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had that's
I don't remember that though.
Yeah,
but
so back near the garden,
Mhm.
the TD Garden, there was the Green Line, or 93 North is what they called it.
is it to get to Logan? Is it that one you go underneath?
There's two.
Yeah.
There's one you could when you go from 90 all the way to Logan, but if you're going from north to south, of like Boston, you go, I think they called it the Ted Williams Tunnel. I could
Yeah.
be wrong, but they had everything above ground, so you were kind of, you were on a bridge going through Boston.
Okay.
And I think in like maybe the late 90s, early 2000s, they knocked it all down and dug a hole underground. And I guess it took a while.
Yeah.
But back then, the Green Line went above ground too. So everything was just above ground. They knocked that all down within a matter of 2 decades. And everything's underground. And then even the garden, like the front of it, if you look at it, they built like this big entrance. And if you go to Boston and try to go to the garden, you'll see this huge entrance. If you Google it, see how it was before, it was just like nothing.
Wow.
And I'm like, where is all this coming from?
Isn't that crazy?
It's just crazy.
Inner city construction has got to be the most nerve-wracking thing. Like,
Yeah.
okay, imagine being the guy standing there with the architect. All right, boys, we're digging a hole under this sea, and we're gonna build a bridge over it for a while.
Yeah.
Like, what?
It took a while too. Yeah. It took a while for him to like dig that hole. I think it was like almost 10 years.
Imagine being on like the demo team when you're trying to knock
Oh
a
my
building down.
gosh.
All right, we're gonna take this building down, and all the buildings are like this close, but we're not gonna let any of the other
Bro,
buildings
the
fall.
wildest thing
Yeah.
is when you're walking street level and they're at the foundational point of constructing a building, and you look and it's just like a fucking pit that
Yeah.
goes down like 100 feet.
Yeah.
Wow,
Dude, I've seen that.
the original
You
foundation.
know?
Like
Well,
the-
like when they're building something,
a
like
new
they
building?
tend to just like there's this big
Massive dig up.
hole, and you're just like, and there's normally a fence or some sort of gate
Yeah.
to keep people, dumb
Oh,
people
yeah,
from
there's
jumping
a
over.
fence.
Yeah, and it's like, whoa. But then I kid you not, come back in like 2 or 3 months, it's like a massive skyscraper.
2
and you're just
days.
Like, like this wasn't here before.
yeah. Dude, that's a good point. So going back to visit, you must be like, whoa, like
And there's just so many cool restaurants, cool things to do.
yeah.
And just like, I'm like, man, like, start to think, I'm like, should I have really moved out this way?
I have to admit, I've never experienced the city like that.
Dude.
I've been to like New York once or twice, but when you visit, you're kind of just staring at the buildings for like 8 hours and then
Yeah.
you leave. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's pretty much what you're
That's
doing.
it, yeah.
You're indulging in the aesthetics and then you're gone. You don't get to go in and
You don't get a feel for the culture.
the culture, the society,
Yeah.
this is a cool like Brian. Shout out to Brian Waite. He lives in Fukuoka, Japan, right? And so he's
Whoa,
down
that's
there in the
awesome.
city. And I sometimes it's been a while since he shared anything because he's in the Navy, and you'll see the kind of clubs he goes to,
Yeah.
like the amount of effort they put into that visual effect of it, the lights, the music, and it's
Yeah.
like, and it's just something you don't always get out here because whether we like it or not, we're far more rural
Yeah.
than Boston, New York.
Yeah.
You know what I
But
mean?
I kind of, and that's one of the things that, in a way, I liked,
Mhm.
where it was a lot quieter. And so,
yeah.
I think being in the city,
I couldn't live in the city. I don't know if I
Yeah.
could.
it's a good experience because it's.
Yeah, I would
definitely-
take you up on that though.
Yeah.
I
Spend like
I
maybe a
agree.
week in like an Airbnb
a month
or
or
something.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
honestly, I wouldn't mind taking like a sabbatical.
Dude, yeah.
A couple months in the city just to try it out. I
It's
like
different.
the convenience. I
Yeah.
mean, this kind of is a much more. I'm not going to start calling this a city, but compared to like Bondsville, I lived in Palmer.
Oh, wow.
So you had to drive to get anywhere. Like
Yeah.
here, I can kind of walk and be at like a gas station, a couple
Yeah.
restaurants, and only 5-minute walk and a 2-minute drive to just about anywhere.
Dude, I was actually talking with a friend or talking with somebody so my parents, they live in Boston or like
Mhm.
towards the Boston area, and every now and then I go and see them. And this past weekend or 2 weekends ago, I went to see them, and like I stopped at a gas station, the one that I always stop, anytime I'm going to and fro. It's down the street from their house, and it just occurred to me just how many like random people are all around me.
Yeah.
And it was just streets were busy and everything. And obviously, I grew up in that environment, but I was just like, man, like I'm living in Springfield. I'm always surrounded, rather as opposed to like maybe going to like the
Uh-huh.
grocery store or somewhere else where it has a lot of people. I'm always surrounded with people that I know,
Yeah.
as opposed to like being in the city where it's like you walk out your front door, you may not even know who
You're
that
walking
is.
in a crowd of people you never met,
Exactly.
and you'll never see them again.
And like if you're here,
You know what I
you
mean?
tend to exactly.
Yeah.
If you're here in this area, you might see the same neighbor over. You might see, oh, I've seen you. I know who you are.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, I'm walking down the street outside my mom's house, and I have no clue who these people are, and I may not ever see them again. And
Dude,
a lot
that's
of them,
so far out. You
yeah,
make a good. That's such a good point. It's got me really thinking now too, on how different your perspective of, well, we could say community from a foundational level, but like
yeah,
from meeting people, the the
yeah,
the the instance of meeting somebody is far more authentic for whatever reason, even though it's
hmm,
not different than meeting somebody in the city.
yeah,
But when you're in the city, I feel like you'd end up adopting the mindset of just this massive functioning organism, and you're kind of going about it,
yeah,
even though it is a collective experience happening with all these different people doing all these different things.
yeah,
I feel like you sort of get lost in that,
yeah.
and I don't know. I feel like it's easier to take human interaction for granted when you're out in those
Dude, and
circumstances.
that's what I honestly felt when I was there. When I
Yeah,
had that
'cause
realization,
it's
I'm
like, oh,
like, people.
But then when you see somebody here, it's like, hey,
Y-
like a little bit more of
y-
a hey.
Yeah, so you're surrounded by people that you know. You're always interacting with people you know, and it's like for the most part. But like when you're in the city, you're bound to somehow make a connection or forced to make a connection with someone you don't know, whether
Hmm.
it be standing in line, whether waiting for the train, shopping, and there's just so many random people around you.
Yeah.
And again, it made for me in that realization, it kind of in a way made me feel small, which wasn't a bad thing. It made me feel small in the sense that there's so many people in the world.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I love with meeting new people now, because I love meeting new people, and that's the 7 in me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm an extrovert, but I love meeting new people because they have a background, and so
Yeah.
there's more conversation, right? And I love talking, so
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, tell me your story. Like, and if it's somebody my age, I'm like, where'd you go to school? Or did you go to school? Where'd you grow up? And all and it's just
Yeah.
you start to make connections and start to realize, and it's an experience. And you don't necessarily get that if you're always surrounding yourself with people that you know. It's just, and nothing wrong with that, but
As far as like just people you know directly.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
As opposed to just like
Meeting new people.
meeting new people, or it's really the contrast of like living here and living in the
Right.
city.
It comes
where,
down to like expanding your tribe, getting to meet
yeah,
new people,
yeah,
getting to have more perspectives on something. That's the beauty about really meeting somebody too.
yeah. I
Is that
love
how they
yeah.
alter your perspective on something that you've been thinking about for some time,
Oh
and then you
yeah.
go, "Oh shit, I never
I never looked at it that
looked at it."
way.
Yeah, so now you're kind of getting smarter just from it. You know what I
Oh,
mean? There's so
absolutely.
much to gain from that connection, from that relationship.
Yeah.
That's something I feel like even today is really being taken for granted. Not
So
as many
much.
people, and to compare what's happening with like so like in the whole city environment, there's even more. There's another level that goes further, and it's like social media. Social
Yeah.
media, people are a dime a dozen. You know what I mean? A dime
Yeah.
for 1,000. You could have 1,000 interactions with people, and it could be like that. And sometimes that communication is taken so much for granted that you'll even drop all accounts of respect for that person. And it's why you get that arguing, and
Dude.
you know how people are on the internet. You know what I mean? Like
And
it's
so
constant.
I love to talk, but I can't do that stuff on like social media
That's better. You
at
don't.
all because
It's not worth it.
because everybody's a genius on social media.
I know, yeah.
On Facebook, everybody is, because you're 2 clicks away from Googling
Yeah,
what you need to
that's
argue
a
about.
good point. That's a
So,
good point.
it's
You're
like,
battling the internet.
exactly, and it's like, why waste your time?
Yeah.
So if I ever have an issue with somebody, I don't. People don't like to call people. Me, I have no problem with it.
Yeah, that's good.
If there's anything, if I need to reach you or if I need to talk about something, like I'm hitting you up.
Call 'em.
I'm calling. I'm like, yo,
That's
X, Y, and
such
Z.
a
Or
powerful-
I'm like, yo, let's meet up.
Yeah.
And let's talk about whatever it is.
Mhm.
Arguing, I think,
On
when has
social.
anything been resolved?
That's
on
why
social
I
media?
forget who I was
There-
talking to about it. Like, oh yeah, you're right. Sorry, man. Like that never happens.
No, it
You know?
doesn't. Man, I just saw one this past week, and I don't even want to
an
get
argument
into it.
taking
Yeah,
place?
and
Yeah.
I'm just, I love reading comments, bro. Yo,
Sometimes the comment
comments
section's
are-
lit.
it's hilarious.
Yo, I definitely do that on purpose. If I see something controversial, I go straight to the
Comments,
before I
yeah,
even
like,
read it.
yes,
I'm like,
yes.
I don't even need to read this. I
Dude,
just want to read what people are saying.
I do
Yeah.
that all the time.
You know?
Because you want to see people's reaction, but
Mhm.
like there's always people that are ridiculous, and there's every now and then somebody might have a good
Mm-hmm.
point, but like not everybody was meant to die on a particular hill.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like you have everybody has their own thing that they're fighting for, whatever it is, or outspoken about, and everybody has their own platform. Everybody thinks that it needs to be on social media, and I'm like, it's not.
such a and people take a really if you pay attention to like how people approach a certain topic too, they take a side to try to oppose. So it's like if there's an A side and a B side, somebody with the A side will oppose the B side with the A side. That never works. You have to be like, hey, maybe just offer them a fact that the fact that they shared was overlooked or something that was overlooked. Yeah. Not to be like, hey, A's right and B's wrong. Yeah. It's just... Dude, you missed something
all
here.
All you gotta do is watch the debate, and you know what it's about.
Oh,
it's all about looking good. That's the only thing.
Yeah, it's all about looking pretty.
It doesn't matter if you solve anything. It doesn't matter if your ideas are right. You just gotta look good when you
I'm
say
so looking forward to just kind of this moving on. Because we've had such a what I always say, that there's no highs without lows, and this year's been such a low that I feel like the year to come, or at least maybe a good. I feel like 2021 might be a good year.
It can't get worse.
It can't get worse.
Totally suck, and when you compare it to this year, if it doesn't totally suck, when this year totally
that's what I'm saying. And if once the elections are over, half the bullshit that everybody's saying and spewing towards each other is just gonna die out a little bit. We'll talk about something else. I was watching something not just today. It was like. Something on TikTok, and some Yankees fan was like, I'm gonna be a Yankees fan to the death, and I'm gonna sleep good at night with our
27. Was it the girl? Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
and I'm like, what a time it was when all you had to worry about was which fucking sports team you were on.
Dude, I saw that.
That would be great.
That was great. That was funny. I was just like,
it's like I'm gonna sleep good at night with the 7 World Series, and you'll never catch me with being a Red Sox fan. She was like super pissed.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh wow, those were the days when people just had a sports team they favored.
Dude, that's so funny. Shout out to my friend Holden. He's a Yankees fan, and I know a lot of the Yankee fans are they're kind of sad because the Yankees got eliminated yesterday.
No way.
Yeah, from contention.
I didn't even realize baseball was still going.
Yeah, that's why that's why that thing that became a thing. It was like all Yankees fans right now.
Yeah,
it was like, I'm gonna sleep well with my
27. TikTok.
I think I saw it on Instagram. And then I think somebody had commented, and there were just like 17 of those all happened before the Kennedy assassination, which happened in like 1960s.
Yeah.
So it's like, really, 17 of your championships were like during dinosaurs. Like, no one cares.
Yeah, nobody cares. Those don't count.
During dinosaurs.
No, it was funny though.
Yeah. But I guess I just kind of envy those times a little bit, because I feel like people found I don't know, just not as personal ways to I don't know. I guess with
hold up. You say that to a Patriots fan talk about the Giants. You talk about the Giants, bro? Ooh, get out of here.
Yeah.
That's personal.
That is, I can see that. Yeah. I'm actually salty to Tom Brady. So that's a sore subject.
How about that, dude?
You don't like Tom Brady?
Not because of what I was actually pretty
pissed he left.
I was pissed that he left.
Yeah, why wouldn't
that he
you?
lost.
Oh yeah,
on Thursday night. I was like, yeah.
So, are you a Patriots fan?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
What about basketball?
Celtics. Everything Boston, man.
Cool.
There you go.
Yeah.
Actually, you grew up in Boston.
Yeah.
Well, hold up though. You get some people who will be like,
Giants fan in Boston. That's
Dude, it's funny
life.
when I first came here and I worked at MassMutual, I met a lot of just like different fans of different teams. And like one of the closest guys I worked with, he was a Cowboys fan. A couple Cowboys fans, 49ers, Giants, and so it's like mixed out here. And I'm just like, ew.
Yeah.
Like we're still in the state of Massachusetts. You should all be Pats fans. But
did you get the memo? It's funny, you're right though,
Yeah.
because I mean I've never lived in the city, but I can only imagine it's like Red Sox, Celtics, Patriots, all the way Boston, right? And then you come out here, but how many different? You were like a Steelers fan for a while, weren't you? No, Saints.
So they don't know.
I've never. Listen, I'm not a sports person, but like all my friends had different. I mean, we had some Giants friends.
Yeah, we got Giants fans. We got Chargers fans.
Wow,
we got,
Chargers.
I always, you know what's
know,
funny
Raiders
too?
fan.
I would bust on my friends when they're watching Pats games. specifically this one time I really got into them when they're facing the Buccaneers, and I'm like, like my favorite team's the Pirates.
Yeah, he does that all the time. He'll make up names.
Yeah. Well, I don't know the actual name.
Tom Brady's name. He'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's Tom Bradley, right?"
Yeah, Tom Bradley. And now both him and Gronk.
Yeah.
And you know Gary V.
I think
Gary
so.
Vaynerchuk. He's like the enthusiastic entrepreneur guy. And it's something kind of back to what he was saying and how like some people will sacrifice money for legacy.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? They'll rather legacy for money. They sacrifice because that's pretty much what Tom Brady did. He could have stuck around and continued his legacy.
Yeah.
And instead he sacrificed it for the dollar bill.
Well, you could make an argument that he did it for his legacy to prove that he couldn't win with it, or that he could win without.
That was
Belichick.
that was a huge argument.
Oh, is that a big thing with them?
Yeah, they're just like, oh, they can't win without each other, and people were calling Tom Brady just an average quarterback, but it was in a great system, and I guess he really wanted to prove him wrong. Look, me personally, I don't care. I don't care for it. I'm like, you're dead to me.
Well, teamwork makes the dream work. Why would you? Yeah. Why would you? That's such an egotistical thing.
The world is egotistical.
Yeah.
Well,
especially
there's
sports.
That.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Sports is ego.
He has his whole TB12 organization.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of people like they don't like Boston fans, especially Patriots fans, and like my reason I think is for this because if you look at any other state, a lot of them, they have more than
Boston fans.
Yeah, they don't like Boston fans or like even Patriots fans.
Who?
Like other teams.
Oh,
like
yeah.
They do
well,
not.
After winning so many times.
Yeah, but
I feel like
people will say,
always...
it's not even the team, it's their fans. And like, I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Boston fans, whatever it is, they're obnoxious when it comes to things. I was at Brady's last game and like, I remember it was earlier this year actually, and it was so cold. And I remember like it was just a poor performance, and like even at that, people were just like, they had like drunk fans behind me. They were just like, "Oh, he got it. He gonna be back next year." Or like before, like the game, they were sucking so bad, and like you saw the writing on the wall, and they were just like, "Nah, we got this. Brady's gonna come through on the 4th, and we're gonna be all right." And I'm like, "Nah, man, like he's not." Like, and I'm a huge fan. I'm just like, this is kind of over.
Bad.
And people hate the fans because, here's the reason I think so.
Well, it's probably because of that Falcons game.
Maybe they hate us even more because of that.
Yeah,
but
whoever went to bed, I'm sorry.
Poor guy. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Falcons are another because they just keep letting up leads. Not even just from the Super Bowl. Like past couple of games, they've let up. But the reason I think people hate Boston fans is because Massachusetts is such a small state, and we have all these pro teams, right? And it's one of everything. When you go to New York, you have like 2 football teams, two basketball teams, 2 of everything. And then
they
for
keep
those
people divided a little bit.
Yeah,
like that.
but even for those states that don't have 2 pro teams, what do you have? You have college teams. So a lot in the South, like Texas or like North Carolina, you have all these. It's split down the middle for fans. So it's like if you don't have a pro team, then you're this college team fan or whatever. For Boston, you don't have any colleges that are like dominating in any sport.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Like what
UMass is like Division 4, Division 3 or something.
I don't know. Yeah.
And if you're anything but Division 1, you're just get out of here.
They're not doing well in like anything. So it's like you can't become a fan. And there's like there's not 2. So it's like it's our pro sports or nothing. And so we're obnoxious as it is.
We also have
we win a lot lately.
What the heck's
lately?
Dude, I'm drawing a blank on the hockey team. Damn it.
The Bruins.
Yeah. So that's another, right?
Yeah.
That's Boston Bruins, right.
Celtics, like so it's like and the and sports media in Boston, it's so cutthroat. Like they just ran Kyrie Irving, who was an all-star point guard for the Celtics, out and he wanted no part of it. But like, yeah, they're just so cutthroat.
I'll tell you what, I like Kemba better than Kyrie.
Kemba's a better leader, man. I loved Kemba back because I'm a huge UConn Huskies fan. Like I love the basketball team.
Was it football? Yeah, it was football. I think it was. They sustained like a ton of injuries that first week.
Yeah, it was like the second week, man.
And that's what happens when you don't have much of a preseason. I mean,
and I think everybody realized that.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, one of our coaches, Natalie. Shout out to Natalie Hamill. She texted us and she's like, 7 ACL tears.
Yeah.
And that, what was it, a game? Was it a game?
A week.
A week. It was just 1 week.
And that's unheard of.
On one team?
No, throughout the league.
Throughout the league.
But
because of the pandemic, none of these people got to have the
Reps or
exposure, the
anything.
reps or
Yep.
anything. So then they go right into a game.
Yo, that's nuts.
And
that was
Yeah.
just the ACL. There people like had like
That's a long time to repair,
a torn
too.
Achilles, like hamstring pulls, all these different.
And
I
for
think that was
those
like
of
week
you-
2.
For those of you who don't know how taxing the process of healing your ACL is they literally will take a piece
Oh, dude,
of
I
your
can't even
hamstring.
handle
Did you
It gets me. I
Dude.
didn't. But it gets me queasy because it's like, oh,
that hamstring, in other words, so they
that
take a piece of your
sucks.
hamstring to repair your ACL.
Yeah.
That hamstring never becomes fully recovered, or not. It never comes back to full strength ever. And
Tell
then
you what, though, that
take the
year
time.
Adrian Peterson came back, he looked pretty damn close
yeah,
to full
yeah.
strength.
Yeah.
But AP, he's
Oh,
he's
you
a
can
different
still
beast.
Dude,
He's
comes-
still
it
playing
comes back
now.
2,000 yards, boom.
you can still perform just fine. It just takes a long time to get back. you
Yeah,
know?
it's like a whole year.
Yeah.
Same
Get
thing with
a couple
Achilles.
months. It's fast tracked from where it was. It's a
Yeah.
lot quicker. Like before, that would end your career. Now it doesn't.
Yeah.
You can come back in a couple months.
Uh-huh.
Not a
Good.
couple, but like maybe like
I'll tell you
6
what,
months.
I am very afraid of hurting my knees.
Me
yeah.
too.
Yeah, for those of you out there,
Yep.
stop sitting down, work your glutes and your core. That's pretty much what does is what happens because
Squat.
we work
Come
with
on
so
now.
many athletes,
Yeah.
and on high average, the majority of people who sustain ACL injuries are actually female athletes
I heard that
because wider hips, so the
Yeah.
knees are constantly in a little bit more of a valgus. That means they go
Yeah.
towards each other. So the last thing you want to do is be somebody who's sitting down too much and then go into like a high impact environment
Yeah.
because it takes a while to repair that and the training process for it
It's a lot of rehab.
is a lot of rehab, And wait, what
Oof.
was I saying before this?
Um,
No, I
I
was saying so the ACL. What was I going with that?
we're talking
People-
about the 7 ACL injuries and not being properly trained.
Yeah. In other
Due to
words,
the
you
pandemic, likely.
just want to constantly work anything for external rotation.
Oh,
And if
God,
people
I
out
can't.
there just
But,
get
like,
right into it and
even-
break something.
Saquon Barkley. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a running back for the
Giants, right?
Giants.
Yeah.
Dude has massive thighs because all he does is squat.
Yeah.
And he was a number in that 7, and I was just
Mhm.
like, how? Yeah, dude.
Yeah, because his
It-
quads were
it's
overactive. If his VMOs were too tight, then his knees. That's
Oh,
just boom.
Dude,
I mean that big teardrop muscle in the center.
Yeah.
Sometimes people overwork that, and
Yeah.
it can cause a little bit of internal rotation. And
man.
that's
I'm
boom.
not thinking about my knees right now. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh god.
Be careful out there.
I was
It-
thinking about getting heel hooked. I'm just like, yeesh.
yeah, yeah. It's a combination. I tell people at work, I go, sitting's the new smoking, because all those muscles sort
yeah.
of turn off. Especially if you have a seat with a chair with like a back rest. You just put your spine on it. You know what I mean? When you really should
Yeah.
be sitting with your spine in extension.
Yeah.
And little things like that like add up over time.
Yeah.
And then you had, however long that break was. When would a football player typically start their preseason?
Well,
'Cause it was probably put off.
Usually August. Well,
Well,
you have OTAs in like
OTAs.
July.
yeah.
You know,
Okay.
and usually they have like 3 or 4 months just straight up.
What are they
you know.
doing during like the beginning of the summer Nothing?
They're probably
It's up to
training.
them.
training? Yeah. Okay.
Really.
Yeah, they're and obviously with the pandemic, everything is tough, and I think football is one of those sports where it has to be it's team oriented and
NFL skipped the
organized.
preseason.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think they realize, and I think a lot of the players at first were just like great because they were like, why are we having preseason? Because it's a contact sport. People do get injured,
Mhm.
but at the same, we see the benefits of preseason
Yeah.
where it's like it's a time for teams can kind of gel, but also like kind of get into the groove. That way,
Yep.
week 1 comes along, you're hitting the ground running. And now you just start from week 1,
Yeah.
and you're in week 2. I
It's
think
just
is
like
when all the-
warming up before you
Yeah.
exercise. You know.
literally
Yeah.
Yeah,
4
I-
weeks of warm up.
And I'm kind of thinking on the aspect of rehabilitation and all the sports medicine type of modalities. I also, for a long time, rather, was really like, what the hell? Because all my friends, and you can attest to this, because all my friends are really into sports, and I was always like, oh, sports are so dumb. But when you really think about it, and being in the industry that I'm in now, it's like it kind of makes sense, or not makes sense, but it's kind of eye-opening to how much sports medicine and modality and probably even therapeutic research
Yeah.
comes out of of sports.
Yeah.
Because you have these really high-paid athletes who need to be back.
Yep.
Right? So now
Yep.
you're going to do everything and anything you can, and that might even open up, avenues for creative research. Because before, the longest time, I think physical therapy was considered holistic. And now it's finally medical, I think. You could probably fact check me on that, or somebody could. But, I mean, take that into account. Imagine that. Now, physical therapy is like the foundation.
Yeah.
People will go to physical therapy before surgery. And the freaking 1-2 with that is if you're going to go, if say you sustain an injury, you're going to go through it to an orthopedic surgeon. And they're going to talk to you about that. So obviously the first thing they'll usually recommend is surgery.
You know what
when
I
it's
think
therapy.
is funny is, so with that being said, like with sports, really advancing,
Yeah.
muscular
Rehab.
skeletal issues, our understanding of it, right? Really, it's like the competition aspect, right? You want to win and you want to compete, right? And you want to beat your opponent.
Yeah.
And you can take this and metaphorically place it upon how science has advanced due to war.
Oh yeah. Anything.
You know what I'm saying?
Competition breeds results quite frequently.
Competition,
in
man.
In a good way.
War.
Yeah.
That's it. It's just a microcosm of that pursuit of the atomic bomb.
Yeah. Maybe a little less little less
Well, it's a microcosm.
right, exactly.
But it's the same principle.
It's not as what is it, violent, I guess. But yeah, no, you're totally right. It's
violent.
Well,
it's not fatal.
It certainly isn't. It's no Normandy.
Yeah. Oh no.
You know what I mean?
Though? Pursuit of a super soldier.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That scares me.
We're all trying to make Spartans. That's what every country.
Well, dude,
to do.
we're talking about Neuralink. What's your take on that? Have you followed any of that?
I haven't.
Elon Musk's been doing. No, I'm waiting until
Neuralink
more
is
of the
gonna get hacked.
information.
It's done.
He's already made up his mind. It's getting hacked.
It's gonna get hacked.
That was the conversation we had a couple times. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Competition in a lot of ways. And it's funny because there's also in the same event when it comes to competition, there's a lot to be said about it being almost a bad thing. Like what they say, the Native Americans always considered competition to be a mental disorder. You know what I mean? But not to bash it completely. I just spitballing on the instance of I don't know.
I definitely think competition brings out the best of me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I think it does.
Everything I do, I mean, because, realistically, you can say the only person you have to be better than is the person you were yesterday, but that's not exciting.
Yeah. It's not.
But it is true. I mean,
for some people,
Jordan Peterson says. I mean, he makes a really good point in saying that it's better to be to. How did he put it? I want to put it because it was a really great statement. It's like you want to become better than who you were yesterday, and not better than somebody than who somebody is today.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
That's the ideal way of living, of course.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the most fast tracked. You know what I mean? Because if you're constantly competing with other people, and this is solely, I think, from an isolated standpoint with yourself, because you can't become better than somebody else. You can think you're better than somebody else or beat them, but it's not necessarily the same type of victory.
Yeah.
Because you know what they say, winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners. That's sort of what I mean by that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So typically you'll be focusing more on what somebody else is doing to get ahead than how yourself. Like I'm reading. Oh my God, have you ever? You know who David Goggins is?
No.
All right.
You're reading Can't Hurt Me.
Dude, such a good book.
You got it audiobook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the best books, audiobooks I've ever listened to. And solely
you'll love David Goggins. He's
follow him on Instagram.
He's a fucking savage.
The most inspirational dude I've ever known in my entire life. From just
runs ultra marathons, like 100-mile races.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just cuz.
So in the audiobook,
he's a former Navy SEAL.
I would encourage anybody to listen to the audiobook because in the audiobook, it's not just a narrator reading the book. It's at the end of each chapter. The narrator will actually talk to David Goggins and unpack certain things that they touched on in that chapter. So David Goggins is there on standby to have a conversation here and there throughout the book with the narrator. And have you listened to it on audiobook? Yeah. Oh, dude, it's so good. And he talks about that. He talks about, achieving more of a calloused mindset and understanding what makes you give up and how to rewire your brain to not give in to those impulses. Because typically it's just a natural thing that occurs when you're pushing yourself.
Yeah.
And so to attribute to like the state of competition, that's where competition breeds so much success in people is the understanding of pushing yourself further, not specifically in the event of just to beat somebody. You want to be better to be the best, but that's
that mindset is better for your emotional well-being for sure.
Well, emotional and outcome
if you're focused on yourself,
right? And of course the outcome because
if you go looking, you're always going to find somebody better than you.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're in the race only to beat somebody and not to win the race, that's my point, right? How many more races are you going to do after that?
Yeah.
You want to be somebody who wants to win at races, not just to beat you, like Caleb. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to beat Caleb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
That's
like I want to be the fastest, right?
Yeah.
That's like when we play games with Ian.
Yeah.
And he just decides he's just going to beat me.
Yeah.
Like, he's just going to do anything he can do.
I hate those people.
Yeah.
To, like, take my money or take my property or whatever. Or, like,
I just want to be,
It's a weird it's a weird dynamic on competition and how it can be so progressive to your mentality, your physicality, everything, but it can also be a deterrent if you're focusing on the wrong aspects of competition.
Absolutely.
Right? Because you want to better yourself inevitably.
Well, it's like in jiu-jitsu, like when you're sparring with somebody, if you're worried that they're going to tap you, like especially like in practice, then you're never going to try any new moves because you're going to stick with the stuff that
safety,
works. Stick in the same safe little bubble, right? And so because you never try any new moves, this person who's out here trying new moves on you, they're learning.
Yeah.
And think
You're
about
not.
how effective somebody's technique becomes when they eliminate ego. They no longer are doing it out of pride, but they're doing it out of skill and technique. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you get really shaky when you want to just beat somebody to beat them. You're like, I want to fuck you up. And then you're like, you know what I mean? Then you're like shaky on it. And then when you lose, it is so
it's
detrimental.
Just the fear of losing makes you more likely to lose.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. They say that in climbing, when you're scared, fear's the enemy. Because you start to do the Elvis, right? And you start to shake.
That's why when you play sports, like when, say, basketball, for instance, somebody misses a shot, you smell blood. You're just like, oh, shit.
Yeah. Well, basketball is
and then you start trash talking them. You get in their head.
Yeah.
And then once you're in their head, you have them the rest of the day.
Yeah.
The rest of the day, once you're in their head, it's over.
I think when you say about basketball, they call it a game of runs, where it's like, during the game, 4 quarters, a team will go on a 8-0 run or a 10-5 run. It's a game of runs, and the thing is that I've started to see with a lot of basketball, it's tough being up 20 in the second quarter and finishing out the game, because the other team, all they have to do is try to slowly pitch it. Hey, by this time, let's get to this. And so, as a team that's up by 20, you're working so hard to maintain your
go
lead.
Defense and
Yeah.
stuff.
Whereas the other team is they have nothing to lose. It's either they only have one thing to do, and that's to overtake you. And once the momentum, like you said, they smell blood. Once the momentum switches, and more likely it's towards the end of the game, they're just like, we're all in right now. And that team that was up by 20 is like, oh no.
I think that's part of what made Bill Belichick so successful is he wasn't afraid to step on his opponent's throat. He wasn't afraid to blow somebody out by 40.
Yeah. We'll just keep going.
If you just need to keep scoring, because you need to
impose your will.
You need to take away their will.
Yeah.
To live. You need them to give up. That's what it is.
A fantastic strategy you saw implemented by Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
He would mentally destroy his opponents before.
Oh, he would just
physically
get people angry.
He'd get in their head.
You can't fight.
Like, remember when he was going to fight Aldo? He was saying the most wild shit to the guy. Like, oh, we would have carried you out of here by horseback or some shit. Like, I don't know if you follow. Did you follow?
Not that fight, no.
No, well, that was a crazy fight, because that's really what made McGregor famous, is because he beat Jose Aldo in 13 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, he's definitely knocked a couple people out.
Yeah, really quick. Well, that's what really put him on the map. That was that changed everything.
Yeah.
But how about Adesanya? That was a good fight, man.
Yeah,
do you usually watch UFC?
Not as much,
dude.
man.
It's really fun.
Yeah, it's I actually kind of enjoyed
Dude,
enjoyed it that night.
That was a
and
great fight.
Yeah.
Adesanya, I didn't realize how big of a deal he was. He's like getting. I think he might be just second to Anderson Silva
Wow.
in his record.
Well,
As far
I
as
think
6 wins in
I
a row.
want to say Adesanya is still undefeated,
I
or
think
he has one loss.
Yeah,
He's either undefeated or has one
I think
loss.
He's a
he
freaking
is
master.
undefeated.
he destroyed Paulo Costa. What's his name? Paulo Costa.
Yeah.
Paulo
That was
Costa.
that was wild.
Adesanya is 20-0.
Oh my god.
That was wild.
Not all the
fight.
fights are in the UFC though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, he's definitely and he's up there too. He fights Jones, right? He would
He's
fight
a different weight class.
Yeah.
different weight class,
Adesanya is
so-
lighter.
Oh, okay. I
He's
thought
like
so.
170 or 160 or something.
Yeah,
John
it's not-
Jones is huge.
Adesanya is like 170. I want to say.
John Jones is like a little bit
Yeah.
over 200.
He's a big guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude.
Because it's funny because like you know, I mean I'll compare myself.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm like solid 200, 205 if anything.
Right now,
Yeah.
no kidding.
And I'm just like
Yeah,
These
John
guys are, like,
Jones weighs
ripped.
that much when he cuts.
yeah.
You know,
it's nuts.
so really
Yeah.
he's like 20 or 30 pounds
Yeah.
heavier, you know?
But like these dudes are just like they look like lean, you know,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I know.
crazy. I'm just like, oh god.
Oh, dude, and you
I-
know damn well John Jones is on anything that he can that's legal.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude,
Oh,
I know.
absolutely.
What a bummer. You guy keeps getting caught with shit like that. And
Well,
he's
dude,
such a good
the
fighter.
problem is he keeps getting caught with weed, which is stupid.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
that's
know?
even dumber.
Like, you're gonna grief him for smoking? Come on.
I know. They cut him out.
That's
Freaking nuts.
That
Yeah.
it's funny. Yeah, that's obviously now that it's legal, it's like, do we?
What do you do?
Yeah.
Well, they're really strict about it with the UFC because you're not even allowed to be on like creatine or branched
Wow,
amino chain
really?
like branched chain amino acids. There's certain types of pre-workouts you cannot use. You can't use like any vasodilators, so like L-theanine. Like it's a ton of weird shit. You just like if you get caught with it, boom, you're
Yeah.
out. You're off the card.
No advantages. And
Yeah,
stuff.
no advantages. Nothing even slight. Which I think that's reasonable. I guess because then where do you draw the line?
Yeah, dude.
And on a lot of those things, it's scary because there's some like we were just talking about John Jones. He could be on something, and only a few weeks later, it can't even show up in your system. That's why they randomly drug test these guys
Oh, really?
because they'll
Yeah.
just go to your house. I remember like hearing about the guys were going to
McGregor's like yacht or something. They just
yeah,
showed up.
that I remember they went to Cerrone's Cowboy Cerrone's
Yeah.
freaking house, and they like almost shot those guys because they came to his house, and he lives
Yeah.
in Texas, so you gotta like walk. There's always a long driveway,
Yeah.
and you're just random people showing up.
Yeah.
Like,
You're
hey,
like,
I need you to pee in this cup. It's like, who the hell are you?
Yeah, right.
Out there, dude. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's
man.
crazy.
I don't know. We're almost at an hour and a half here. Is there anything else you want to add, Caleb?
No, man, this has been great, dude. This
Dude,
is
yeah.
awesome, man.
Thank you so much for coming on. It
Thank
was
you
funny
for inviting me.
when I
This
saw
is
you the
great.
other day. I'm like, all right, dude. I feel like because I've known you for as long as I have, right?
Yeah.
Since I've gotten together with all those guys.
Yeah,
And I was like, I've never really sat down and kind of because we were all just sort of in the
Yeah.
heat of the moment and
absolutely.
having
yeah.
fun
Yeah.
out there on the beach. You came out to the beach house a few
Dude,
times.
yeah,
Dude.
yeah.
Dude, summer
Dude,
17. was
Great
a while.
summer, dude.
I
Yeah,
know.
Narragansett, right?
I just actually said it was actually Nikki's birthday the other day.
Yeah,
And I was-
yesterday,
Yeah, I
right?
think it was
Yeah,
yesterday. And I was
yeah.
like, oh, happy birthday. I wonder how she's doing. I hope they're doing well.
Oh yeah, I hope everybody's
You know,
doing great.
I haven't seen so many of those people besides Sean and Dan and JD.
Yeah. Yeah,
but there was like
JD.
a mad.
I hadn't seen
posse.
JD in so long.
I know.
If he didn't come over, I was just like, dude, I gave him like the biggest hug. I was like, dude,
I know.
been
It's
way
great
too
to
long.
see him. It was good to see everybody, honestly.
that was great, dude.
But all right, man. Hey, thank you so much for coming on
Dude.
again, Caleb. This was awesome.
Thank you for inviting
This is
me.
so awesome,
Yeah,
dude. And we'll
man.
have to do it again down the road.
Yeah,
you know,
let me know, man.
if you got any more things you want to talk about, I'm trying to kind of like build a good foundation
Yeah.
of how many people that I've had on because I want
I
to
hear
start
ya.
having people on again.
Yeah.
Because I'm like thinking, well, who else am I gonna have on? And it's nice to have a repertoire. You kind of have to build and get
Yeah.
used to this environment. You know what I
Dude,
mean? It's
yeah.
kind of weird at first because
I-
it's not the same as a regular conversation. I always make note of that.
In a way, no, but I think in the same, yes, because it's like I think what makes
It's
probably
more intimate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
listeners would probably. I love listening to the podcast because it is a conversation.
Yeah.
And so you just hear people talk about just like whatever, and it's authentic and
Yeah, it's
I
natural.
yeah,
It's
I
not
love it.
scripted. You can tell when
No.
something's scripted.
Yeah.
Even like when I'm listening to that David Goggins book, you can tell when like he's reading. There's such a different
Yeah. Tone.
pace
Yeah.
or mentality to the way you're absorbing the information versus then when they start talking to each other about the book.
Yeah.
Totally recommend.
Yeah, I just saved it on my Audible.
It's like blowing my mind. I went for a 3-mile run straight the other day.
Just listening to it?
No, just because like what he was talking about. I was like, dude, you know what?
I gotta go.
Like, dude,
Goggins, he's got
the worst thing in life is if you got chestnut syndrome, and you know what that is?
Yeah.
So as a boy, your balls start to drop, right?
Yeah.
And then when you grow and you become a man, sometimes you can slip into these certain ways and your balls start to go back up in you, right? And some people, they get all the way up to your chest, right? And at that point, you got chestnut syndrome and you got to man up and you need to get after it.
Yeah.
And go for a 3-mile run.
Dude, seriously.
And you got to fight against the chestnut syndrome.
It was like 8 minutes and 22 seconds per mile. I did pretty good.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah. I was surprised. I did it on my watch here. And, but
just around outside or on my head?
Yeah, I literally just circled the block. I don't even know how many times. I thought it would be like, I think around the block is less than a quarter mile, to be honest. I feel like I went around that thing so many times.
I got a 3-mile loop I do at my house. I actually run all the way around past Stop and Shop up the street, and it's like a little over 3.
For those of you who are listening, it is so detrimental that you challenge yourself like that. And at first, it's gonna hurt. It's not gonna feel good. And he mentions that in such great detail in the book. And it's about pushing through that. Your body, you're not gonna die.
Language.
Yeah,
you're not gonna die. You know what I mean? You're not gonna just collapse. This dude ran like 100 miles with 2 broken shins and an ankle and some shit with duct tape holding his ankles together. Like
what?
Dude, I'm not even joking. It is literally
it's like mind over.
Well, it's just everything.
He ran to the point where like he had like kidney failure or something.
Yeah, well, he was dehydrated. He had no nutritional sense. He had no hydration, like nothing, no prep beforehand, and then just kind of went through it. And it just to prove later, obviously, just proving that it has everything to do with your state of mind, and it's like. It's amazing how much you can push through, and amazing the circumstances in which you can still achieve a parasympathetic state where you're just alive and functioning. Even though you're running and there's pain and there's suffering and all that happening, you can still break through it.
Wow.
And I think a lot of people give up. So the main point of the book is people give up too soon.
Yeah.
People will try something and fail and then give up or try it for a little bit and just. They won't do it enough to callous their mind to push further.
Yeah, I think what he said is like people give up at 40%.
Yeah,
usually.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah.
And people, and he had a really good bit in the book. I might listen to the book twice because honestly, there were so many great pieces of information.
Yeah, I'm excited to listen.
Retired Navy SEAL. Yeah, he's retired now.
Yeah,
I would assume. And I mean, the amount of how important it is to callous your mind.
He used to hold the world record for most pull-ups.
Yeah.
It was like 4,000 or something.
What?
Yeah.
Like 3,000 or something. Like nuts. In a day.
And he has some really great time.
It was just broken by Cam Haynes' son. Justin Pruitt.
That's crazy.
What? In one
how much time? Probably a day.
Under a day.
Yeah, dude, he would literally run for 24 hours straight. Like, he would do runs for just 100 miles.
He's like a superhuman.
Exactly. And it's just amazing all the different things he had going on. He was wildly overweight. He was like 298 pounds or something like that. He had to get down to 191 to get on the into the SEALs or something like that. Like, he had to lose an insane amount of weight just to get through all the different conditionings to become a SEAL. Absolutely insane, and you touched on that. I just wanted to make full circle there. It was like about how much of your week are you trying, right? Yeah. So if you work 40 hours for the week, and there's 168 hours a week, you know what I mean? That's only 40%. No, that's even less than 40% of your week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have all that other time, and people with just that much time being absorbed will have excuses. Oh, I can't make it. I need to sleep, and I need to have a social life, and they'll say things like that. But it's like, no, you need to know how to delegate your time. Yeah. He really made a great note to, and we'll end on this, to keep track of what you're doing throughout a daily basis. If you really want to rewire your brain and your lifestyle, take note of what you're doing and how long you're doing it throughout the day. And that's mostly a nod towards like social media.
Yeah.
If you were to write down how much time you spend on social media, I actually had turned my phone on to count the minutes when I'm using certain social medias.
Yeah.
So it's going to tell me how much screen time I have. You'll be not only pissed off, but you'll probably change that up really quick.
Yeah.
When you can see as like a
much time.
receipt
Yep.
how much time you've spent.
Well, you might not change it up real quick. There's people
If
who
you
look
care,
at
you
it
will.
and you're like, that sucks,
That's
and then they slip.
yeah.
I'll be honest, the phone has a feature. So if you have an iPhone, it's probably the same if you have an Android. You can go to, it's called Screen Time.
Screen time. Yep.
And you can lock certain apps. So I have all my social media apps lock after I've used them for 2 hours.
Dude, it's funny because I was talking
And I just don't use them anymore because I realize every time I go to use them, sorry, just to really quick, I go, I don't need anything on here, so I'm not going to look.
Yeah,
It
no.
helps.
One of my students said that because we were talking about like what social media apps they got, and they were saying that I think it locks after a certain time, and they can only use it during certain times, and I think it's like a parental feature, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I
on
didn't know
my
that.
phone it's under health and well-being,
Okay,
right?
that's
and
really
it
cool.
keeps track, and the average American spends like 3 to 4 hours.
Sheesh.
Yeah, that's probably, sheesh is right, dude. I probably spend, on my phone alone, my daily average right now, I'm looking at it, it's 3 hours and 14 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's mostly like high-end social media, like mostly social media. So now when it starts off, I go realize to myself, I say, hey, I'm not looking for anything. Because you know how you'll do that? You'll scroll.
You just keep
And you have to
scrolling.
remind yourself, what am I looking for? Because you
Yeah.
do so as though you're looking for something.
Yeah.
And then if you have the
Looking for
sense,
that dopamine hit.
you're looking for that dopamine hit, which is just new information. Ooh, that picture. Ooh, that article. Ooh,
Yep.
that meme. And then you're just going, and then all of a sudden, freaking an hour, two
Has
goes by,
gone by.
and you'll never get it back.
Yeah.
Size it up, people. Know
Yeah.
what you're doing. Be economic with your time. And don't waste your life. There's a lot of awesome things you can do out there, all right? Get involved with your community.
Absolutely.
All right? Thanks again. We'll
Hey,
bump
man,
you again.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome, dude. All right, guys. See ya!